Sammy and Amy from the infamous Amy's Baking Company were actually caught stealing tips from their servers. How could they? But guess what? They weren't the only ones who were downright shameless. This owner right here was so brash that he pretty much dissed everything that Chef Ramsay did for him. And well, there was just one thing the famous chef had to say about him.
He's so far up his own arse, he can't even fucking breathe anymore.
Could you take a wild guess who this might be? If you're an avid fan, you probably already know that Ramsay was referring to the French chef, Michael Bardavid. He was the man who owned the Secret Garden in California. Forget about being grateful, Michael tried to challenge the famous chef on every change that he made. But that's nothing compared to the challenges I've come across on this battlefield, which is taking the world by storm. I'm talking about Raid Shadow Legends, one of the hottest mobile games around. What started as a small game is now a worldwide phenomenon today with over 400 million active players battling against each other in a real-time live arena. Yeah, you heard that right. You can now play with over 700 unique champions in a super detailed and tactical RPG battle system. And did I mention the graphics? It's simply incredible. But here's what makes Raid extremely exciting. Thanks to its countless game modes and multiple features, this game constantly evolves as you're playing. Just like some shameless restaurant owners who constantly change their opinions about Chef Ramsay. And who knows what you might run into? From regal elven warriors to mystical skinwalkers, this game is loaded with a ton of crazy-ass characters. And trust me, these dudes are creepy as hell. I think you should head straight to the official Raid Shadow Legends YouTube channel right now to catch up on everything that you've missed out on. Also, don't forget to check out the brand new content available on Raid Shadow Legends related to the Call of the Arbiter, which includes a free legendary champion, Artak. To claim this, all you have to do is just log into Raid for 7 days between now and July 24th. With all this exciting stuff and more coming to Raid, if you haven't started playing yet, then what are you waiting for? Use my link in the description or scan my QR code to get insane bonuses. We're talking about an epic champion like Talia and other useful things. And don't forget this, bonuses are also available for all new players. Now, I know you're super pumped to dive into this exciting experience and conquer the 12 imposing dungeons with an endless number of customizations. But before that, let's see how Chef Ramsay dealt with this terrifying owner who is as stubborn as a mule. While the star chef was constantly trying to knock some sense into Michael, the owner turned himself into a haughty mess. Things got so bad that Chef Ramsay was seriously considering walking away and giving up on saving the restaurant. I mean, why should he take the heat when he was just trying to help? You could say that Michael drove Ramsay almost all the way to the edge, because why else do you think he would say this?
I've never met such a stubborn bullshitter in all my life.
It's crazy how during the inspection, Chef Ramsay found the real secret behind the Secret Garden.
Oh, God.
Yuck, the kitchen was infested with grease, moldy food, and maggots. Could things get any worse? Well, Michael seemed to have no problem with any of this. When Ramsay confronted him about it, this is how Michael reacted.
Is everything perfect? Even in your kitchen? I don't think so.
This man was so arrogant. What's more, the owner often sabotaged the sous chef Devin and held him back. And well, his own staff confirmed that.
If a chef is too good, Michelle does get a bit jealous.
He was definitely insecure, don't you think? When Chef Ramsay changed the overcomplicated menu, Michael wasn't the least bit thrilled. Actually, he was furious.
Is he the great cook? No, I was voted best chef in Conejo Valley.
Despite all the problems at the restaurant, Michael continued to be in denial and firmly resisted any changes the famous chef made. And this was only because he liked quote-unquote rich food. His words, guys, not mine. Michael had the audacity to say that the multi-Michelin star chef's menu wasn't any better than his. I honestly wish I had this dude's confidence. I mean, what kind of drugs was he on? I need to get some for myself. But jokes aside, this guy was just arrogant. During the relaunch, when the restaurant was beaming with success, Michael wanted to revert back to his old practices right in the middle of it. Do you really think Chef Ramsay would be okay with that? Of course not. But Michael was adamant. And this terrible attitude of his quickly led to a full-blown battle between him and Ramsay.
My f***ing kitchen.
Yeah, is it? Well, it's your fucking kitchen and clean it, you lazy cunt.
Eventually, the restaurant closed down in 2015. And do you know why? Well, Michael simply couldn't accept change. He then started working at a pizza place called Custom Pie, and I really hope he didn't run them into the ground. But in the midst of all this, people started throwing accusations at Michael for faking the restaurant's reviews on Yelp. Who does that? You know how Chef Ramsay often comes up with nicknames that are simply savage? I think he was absolutely on point when he called Michael this.
And you work like a pig! You French pig!
He really earned that nickname, don't you think? Anyway, let's get back to the issue about the fake reviews. One customer named Todd G exposed Michael when he noticed that the restaurant either had 1 or 5-star reviews. How could you explain the contrasting reviews other than assuming that the owner himself wrote the 5-star reviews to outmatch the genuine ones? Well, that's just shameful. To add on to this, another Yelp reviewer spoke about Michael's rude behavior and how the owner overcharged them. In fact, they were glad the business closed down. And this wasn't just some isolated incident. Apparently, Michael's services ruined another wedding experience. Amanda on Yelp revealed that Michael not only ignored her requests, but also messed up on the orders and ripped him off $100. Come on, Michael. You could have at least spared the wedding party. But this next set of owners simply opened a restaurant because the other partner was bored. Now, you could probably imagine how poorly this place ran, right? Well, let me tell you this, it's worse than you think. I'm talking about the owners of Flamingos, eventually known as Junction in New Jersey. It's not like the owners Bill and Adele didn't have experience in the food industry. Because, well, the couple had previously owned successful restaurants. But Bill wanted to retire, and I think he deserved that, but Adele was so consumed by boredom that she wanted to do something to kill some time. So, with some help from their daughter Cheryl, the family set up their new venture. And since it was boredom and not passion that drove their business, it was quite obvious that they would quickly grow tired of it. Things got so bad that after the episode aired, the internet seemed to hate Adele. People thought that she was extremely nasty and toxic. To be fair, she was seen insulting Ramsay, who was only trying to rescue her failing business. She showed absolutely no gratitude whatsoever. She picked apart every little thing that he did just because it didn't align with her precious tropical decor. She even complained about the new paint color because she happened to hate the color blue, all while wearing a blue shirt. Ridiculous, right? But wait, things get far worse. Seeing Bill work his ass off at this age angered me. You could tell that he really wanted the restaurant to be successful. Everyone, the staff, the chefs, and even Chef Ramsay felt bad for him. But, well, not his wife Adele. When Ramsay expressed his concerns about Bill's health, instead of being an empathetic partner, she decided to mock him.
It's always Poor Bill. That's Bill's nickname.
All the poor man wanted to do was relive the good old days when he could cook up his favorite dishes and simultaneously run a profitable business. Bill jumped at the opportunity when he got to make some meatloaf after 8 years for Chef Ramsay. In truth, he hated pushing around the trolley. He was a man who belonged behind the grill. But guess what happened next? Instead of being supportive, this is what Adele had to say.
I can't believe that Chef Ramsay wants meatloaf.
Did you see that? She's damn insufferable. Was it that hard to be a little empathetic? But that's not all. Not only was she shamelessly defensive about the old menu, but she was also skeptical about Chef Ramsay's specials. And what about the meatloaf? The diners couldn't stop raving about it. Well, that must have been embarrassing for Adele. However, when the diners complained about the overcooked food, guess what she said?
It's dry. So you don't want it.
Anyway, fast forward to when the Kitchen Nightmares crew completely revamped the restaurant. Just like the staff, I was really happy to see the tacky tropical decor go up in flames. The place, which was previously so cramped up, now looked like it was ready for business. But of course, there was one little hiccup. Adele wasn't happy nor appreciative of all the efforts.
I hate it. Hate.
Was she made of stone? I mean, while the rest of the staff, along with Bill and Cheryl, loved the menu that Chef Ramsay crafted, Adele looked repulsed by it. Honestly, it looked like she was taking it way too personally.
Adele, how's the salmon, darling?
On the day of the relaunch, the patrons embraced the new changes like never before. But obviously, Adele was stuck in the past.
This is more inviting to go to than it was before.
Well, screw down.
If that's not enough, she was seen venting in front of the customers and insulting Ramsay.
He says it's gonna work. How stupid can you be?
I don't understand what the point of all this was because the Junction eventually closed down in April of 2011 anyway. Now, before you start pointing fingers at her, Adele came out swinging with a statement. She slammed Kitchen Nightmares for all the changes made, which led to the closure of the restaurant. She claimed that the show intentionally packed a place with more reservations than they could handle just to overwhelm the staff. And get this, she even alleged that the show encouraged customers to complain and push their own team to bug Adele until she snapped. Apparently, it was all for the sake of creating drama and making them look bad. Well, I think nobody except her was obnoxious on the show. But this next owner was so immoral that she actually threatened to hit Chef Ramsay on national TV. Now, what could have driven someone to this extent? I mean, that was wild, but the reason behind it was plain stupid. It was only because the famous chef pointed out that the food quality in her restaurant was subpar. So Cece, the self-taught cook who owned Anna Vincenzo's in Florida, flipped. Her husband, the head server, agreed that the fish that was served to Chef Ramsay was mushy. But he shamelessly denied it when Chef Ramsay asked him to convey this to Cece.
No, it was tender the way everybody else enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was tender.
Was he really scared of her? Well, it looks like Cece used her voice to intimidate others. And throughout the episode, she tried applying the same tactic with Ramsay. She was literally screaming and yelling at him like a child throwing tantrums. But you know what? I have mad respect for him for trying to reason with someone who thinks that they're infallible.
Why are you shouting?
Because you're
Why?
pissing me the fuck off.
So shut the fuck up and talk properly.
Ramsay, being the meticulous chef that he is, decided to check out the supplies in the kitchen. And what did he find? Gnocchis that definitely weren't homemade. I mean, come on people, how hard is it to whip up some fresh gnocchis? But that's not all. The meatballs were a disaster.
Whether that overcooked, would you serve them?
We can't just throw them away.
During the service, she continued to make mistakes, and when confronted about it, she just walked right out. Quitting comes easy when you're not ready to address the root of the problem. Chef Ramsay, being the straight shooter that he is, wanted her to admit that the food was the problem. But oh no, not Cece. She was a master of blame games. She tried to shift the responsibility onto everyone else but herself. It's hard to handle someone as pompous as her, and if Chef Ramsay chose to walk out, I would have completely understood.
Am I supposed to run after him and say, oh, please come and help me? Well, fuck you.
This woman needed a serious reality check, and Chef Ramsay didn't hold back.
Don't you get defensive if somebody comments about your food like that?
I don't cook like that.
After all that went down, it was surprising to see Chef Ramsay revisit the restaurant. But in the end, the restaurant closed down in 2010. Cece spilled the beans and said that she made a tough decision to sell the restaurant so that she could spend more time with her kids. Now, here's the interesting part. Despite what you might think, the restaurant was actually doing pretty well. It seems like Cece being a culinary rebel earned her some fans, and the reviews after Chef Ramsay's visit were surprisingly positive. So it's safe to say that her decision to sell wasn't because of any major issues with the restaurant itself. She now seems to have lost some weight and looks much happier and stress-free. Well, as long as things turn out for the better, I'm not complaining. But this next owner was so shameless that despite her staff needing a break, she continued to exploit them in the same toxic environment.
Pushed me into the walk-in and tried to punch me when I told him I was gonna call the cops.
So basically, 22-year-old Trevor, who was the head chef, attempted to assault the daughter of the owner of Manja Manja in a meth-fueled violent rampage. Now, why the owner Julie still kept him to run the restaurant is a big question. He needed help in recovery, but instead of giving him the necessary support, this employee was constantly berated by Julie. Her daughter Janelle and Trevor got into a seriously heated argument, and Julie was upset that he came to the restaurant high.
You come in so high that you throw at the walls.
Showing up high to work is unacceptable, but there are ways to deal with this issue. And Julie failed to do this miserably. While I don't support Trevor and his addictions, I do appreciate him for admitting his issues to Chef Ramsay. But Julie? How could she put her own needs above his life and deny him the help that he deserved? Did she expect us to believe that she had no clue about his addiction?
And what's the substance?
I didn't know.
Some methamphetamines.
So what did she do next? Only then did she fire him. But you know what? That was the best thing to have happened to him. Trevor took up professional training and is currently working as a sous chef at Sundance, a popular restaurant in Fort Collins. I found this information on his LinkedIn page. And it's fantastic to see him thriving. As for Manja Manja, its doors closed in 2014, 5 months after the episode aired. According to Julie's LinkedIn profile, she seems to have been working as a real estate agent in Woodland Park, Colorado. The next name on this list is someone who thought that Chef Ramsay's intrusion into his kitchen was a slap in the face. Wondering why? Because he was trained in the Culinary Institute of America. Meet Doug, the chef at Seascape Inn, who never listened to the owner Peter and only did what he wanted to. When Chef Ramsay took a bite of the first dish that he prepared, this is what he had to say.
It's not a crab cake, it's a crap cake. Because I feel if I eat any more, I'll be crapping for the next 105 years.
That was savage. If you probably noticed, none of the dishes impressed Chef Ramsay. The lobster ravioli wasn't fresh, the salmon dish was dry, and it was even served with a pesto sauce that was greasy as hell. When Chef Ramsay inspected the kitchen, he found grease and grime on nearly every surface that he could see.
What is that? This is 10,000 times worse than I thought it would be.
It looked like Doug was on a mission to make people sick. How else could you explain the unsanitary condition of his kitchen? When Chef Ramsay confronted him, he shamelessly started dodging everything. Instead of having any remorse, he acted all self-righteous.
To have another chef in my face about my kitchen, I'm pissed off, believe me.
Well, he just didn't give a damn about anything. Ramsay also showed him the disgusting rotting pork, but Doug was unhinged.
It's pork! The pork was mine. That's my personal meal.
Wait, did you hear that? What personal use could he possibly have? That was just repulsive. The only thing Doug wanted at this point was for Chef Ramsay to back off. In fact, he was so pissed that he even refused to taste one of the new dishes that the famous chef had prepared.
Just tell me why you didn't want to taste that.
I know what striped bass tastes like, and I'm familiar with this.
At least taste it if not anything else. And when he and his sous chef were asked to prepare the dish, they overcooked it. The owner definitely deserved a better chef, which is why Chef Ramsay wasted no time in sacking him and getting a new team altogether. But when Ramsay discovered something horrible, he asked this next set of owners to pause all operations with immediate effect. But did they comply? For a restaurant that had been serving rotten slimy chicken and molded fermented sauce to the people of Beaver, Chef Ramsay only had one thing to say.
You should be ashamed. Ashamed.
Dino and his sister Tina, the owners of Levante's, were asked to apologize to their customers, but this is what Tina did instead.
I'm not going out there.
Yep, that's what an escapist looks like. Chef Ramsay had to approach the customers and take matters into his own hands before it was too late.
I've got too much respect for you. I am not going to be party to this any longer.
That must have been so embarrassing for the owners. But that's what you get for not pulling your act together. Quite early on into the episode, the staff revealed that Dino and Tina were the real problem. Because, well, they frequently argued and had no idea how to run a restaurant. The only thing they knew how to do was blame each other. When Chef Ramsay sat down with the siblings to discuss the restaurant, he found that the staff was absolutely right. Their relationship was utterly dysfunctional. Although their father invested his entire life savings into the restaurant, the siblings had no remorse for putting his hard-earned money on the line. First of all, they couldn't even agree on who was truly in charge.
But I'm here more often than he is.
I wouldn't say that she's here more than me.
You know the saying, blood and business don't mix? Yeah, that might be true in this case. However, this video wouldn't be complete without mentioning David from Black Pearl. He's the guy who just stood there smiling as Chef Ramsay exposed the rotten food in his restaurant.
That's why he came back, right? Massage his ego.
David could care less about Black Pearl, and when he was confronted about it, this is what he did.
How have I been lying to you, Gordy? How? Tell me.
Gordy?
Yeah, how?
What a world-class prick. And how could I forget about Daryl and Ellen Cortello from Zeke's? They purchased the restaurant from a local icon who died in Hurricane Katrina and then completely destroyed it. They were so greedy and selfish that they shamelessly underpaid their staff while taking foreign vacations. Or how about the owner from the infamous Burger Kitchen, Alan Saffron? He swiped a whopping $250,000 from his own son Daniel's inheritance. What's more, he dragged him into the business without his consent. And then he went on to question this.
My son has a great deal of resentment towards me, and I don't know why.
Unbelievable, right? I could go on and on. But who knows? There may be more owners out there who don't think twice before putting their customers' lives at risk. Now, before you head out, make sure to smack that like button, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications. And by the way, have you started playing Raid yet? Well, what are you waiting for? All you have to do is just use my link in the description or scan my QR code to get insane bonuses. And if you're fast enough to crush the enemies, then you might be able to join my clan. I can't wait to see you on the battlefield. Also, if you want to see something even crazier, check out my latest video right here.